everybody. I'm
Hi,
gonna wait
guys.
for Nicole Ravioli to sit down.
Hi. I feel like I didn't explain why I do that now.
What?
Why I start from back there instead of just pressing the button, because they're probably like, why don't you just press the button while you're sitting down? We lost a whole episode because I thought it was recording and it wasn't because we took too long to get ready, so now I make sure that I stand behind the camera and that it's recording.
Okay. Woohoo! Woohoo! Okay, so, hi. Hello. We're the
Hello.
Boss Ravioli Queens. Your two favorite caregivers, Boss Lady Amy.
Nicole Ravioli.
So, I guess we'll get the shameless plug out of the way right away. Dink. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. We are two caregivers, and we've been doing this a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And we do a podcast where we talk about all things caregiving, healthcare, trending topics, how they relate to our little healthcare corner of the world. We're currently not releasing new episodes
With just sound.
with audio. Yep, just audio. But you can still go back and listen to all of our old episodes anywhere you listen to podcasts, except for Apple. Why? Because we're poor. But you can still find all of our old videos on YouTube, and then of course keep watching the new ones. We release a new video every Wednesday, usually.
Unless there's inclement weather or a sick child.
Or other things, technical difficulties usually being one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the struggle bus, okay?
Okay, well, shameless plug over. Dink. I was thinking about that the other day. Imagine if fun fact, we wanted to name this The Struggle is Real. However,
It was
that
coined.
was already coined by lots of different people.
Yeah.
I feel like it wouldn't be true enough for us though. I feel like it's too serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I feel like Boss Ravioli Queens is silly enough that it just works.
It embodies the chaos that is us.
Yeah, exactly. Because here, caregiving is so messy that we don't spill tea, we spill ravioli.
Indeed. God, we haven't said that in forever.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's true. Caregiving is hella messy, y'all.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we decided we're going to do a little, mini series where once a month we kind of talk about, the Trump administration and what it means specifically for healthcare and caregiving, and just kind of keep you informed on the changes and things like that. And so we're calling this the Trump trials. So.
Get it.
So, welcome to episode 1 of our little mini-series, The Trump Trials. Also, please ignore my dog. I'm sorry. There's clickety-clacks. Clickety-clacks.
Tippy-taps.
So, Trump Trials. I think in this episode, we'll probably end up covering, DEI and,
The firing of necessary employees.
yeah, so DEI, firing of necessary employees, and I think talking about cutting the prescription savings plan, I think would be the biggest 3 at least that would affect us.
Mm-hmm. And also what they're trying to do with how do I word it? The internment camps?
I'll let you talk about that because
Oh, you haven't heard?
I don't know that much about that, so.
We'll get into that later. It kind of goes hand in hand with DEI though, a little bit.
Yeah, so the biggest thing with DEI, which is scary, is that people think that it's just solely about
Immigrants.
race and giving opportunities to people that don't deserve them because they're black or brown or gay or
anything other than white and straight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which it's so much more than that. It's so many things. I mean, it's wheelchair ramps, it's making sure that you can take the time off that you need if you get sick, or I mean, anything really, anything in the workplace that involves making sure that your company can accommodate you is DEI.
Mm-hmm. And I think somewhere in that OSHA comes into play as well.
I believe so, yeah.
Because I had read somewhere that they were trying to get rid of OSHA standards and like OSHA altogether. So if we don't know what OSHA is, it protects the workers. It makes sure that we have a safe environment to work in, make sure that there are protocols put in place in case of work emergencies, like your eye wash stations if you work with chemicals, or hard hats if you're in construction. Those are like
making sure you
basic
have like
ones.
a first aid kit.
Oh, and the hours that you work.
Yeah.
You can't, like, for us, I know that we've talked about all of us being stuck on like 24-hour shifts, which is extremely illegal right now because OSHA is still a thing. You're supposed to only be able to work 16 hours, and then you're required to have 8 hours off in between your next shift.
An 8-hour break. Exactly.
So, good luck with that if if they really do get rid of OSHA.
Well, and that's so that's interesting because with, being in healthcare, so we have something that we follow, the standards that are set by the DHS. It varies by state.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever, if you like have a friend that's in caregiving, or if you're in caregiving yourself, when you hear the word state, that's like instant panic, because those are the ones that they come and they check everything and make sure that it's all up to code basically. And the fact that they would want to get rid of OSHA, which is something that protects the workers, but I'm assuming that the standards would be kept in place for DHS, is wild to me, because it's like, okay, you want us to meet all of these standards, but then you are going to lower the expectations of these employers for these workers.
Mm-hmm.
What's in it for us?
Right.
Like, what is going to keep me wanting to come to work every day when my safety standards have been taken away, but I'm still expected to perform the same amount, or perform at the same rate that I've always had to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's crazy to me.
Well, like, even the standards for, like, the mechanical lifts that we have, because you're supposed to have Hoyers are supposed to be a 2-person thing, right?
Yes and no, there's gray area with that.
I know. I'm aware. But, like, as a rule, you're supposed to have 2 people because it makes it safer for you and the resident that you are transferring. I almost said transporting. I mean, same thing, but transferring.
So, okay, let me explain why there's gray area with lifts. So, if you're, again, if you're new here, lifts, mechanical lifts, usually when we say a Hoyer, that's a machine that lifts somebody up in the air and does all the lifting for them.
It's like a full body lift.
Yeah. And then when there's a sit to stand, it's exactly what it is. It's a lift that it doesn't do all of the lifting for you. It just helps the person stand up, and then you wheel them to wherever you're going, and then it sits them down.
Yep.
It doesn't lift them into the air. So, the gray area with lifts is that, so basically, like, on a federal level, we're supposed to, it's recommended that 2 people use them. However, basically they were like, we're gonna leave it up to the state. And so our specific state was like, well, actually, we're gonna leave it up to each facility.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a gray area because it's like, well, technically it's recommended, but each facility gets to make their own decision. And it's weird because not every state is like that. There are some states that are like, okay, well, actually, it is required, like 2 people. This is the federal recommendation. This is what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. But our state, it was like, nah. It's up to you. And
F those workers and those residents. Why do you need 2 people?
And of course, being some facilities being the way that they are going to be like, we don't need 2 people. Absolutely not. So
I hate it here.
Yeah. And then there are some facilities that will leave it up to the care plan, which is basically just like, okay, well, technically, if this person's on a 2-person assist, even though they're a full body lift, a Hoyer, okay, well.
Oh, well.
It's not according to the care plan, so they don't need it.
I'm pretty sure, sorry to interrupt you, but I'm pretty positive when you watch this back and you see my face after you said they left it up to the states, I was like generally pissed. Genuinely, not generally. Oh, English is hard today.
It's hard every day.
Yeah.
But then the funniest part is that it all comes full circle because it's like, okay, so the MCOs, if you're new, we've talked about that before.
We have a whole episode on it.
Funding sources.
Mm-hmm.
So the funding sources are like, actually, no, we don't need to pay for a second person because it's not needed, like it's not required by the care plan. Then again, it all comes full circle because the funding sources get all of their funding that they use to distribute that money to pay for all these different services from the state.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all one big poop circle.
It's a poo sandwich.
It is. It's a poo sandwich. It's not a good one.
No.
It's not one you want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, that's lifts and why it's a gray area and why most people will tell you that state requires 2 people when actually the state's like, nah, do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. So then they can justify being single-staffed in some places.
Correct.
I need like a cleansing breath for a second. Sorry if that was quiet. I said I need a cleansing breath for a second. So we're just gonna...
And as you heard, my nose rattled because
I heard that.
I had surgery. I had nasal surgery actually going on a year ago almost now.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah. God, I was about to say a couple months ago. No. In a couple months it'll have been a year because I had surgery in May of 2024. And yeah, so it takes about a year for the muscles to like fully rebuild themselves. So sometimes I still have a rattle.
And
oh,
it's
see there,
really,
I didn't.
Really funny when it happens, actually.
It, like, okay, so sometimes when I'm not expecting it, it legitimately terrifies me.
It gives you the ick a little bit. A lot of it.
It like, actually scares me. The first time that my nose ever rattled, I was in the car driving by myself. And I was like, all of a sudden, I had this, like, honk. It was like this, like, I don't even know, like a goose honk. And I was like, was that me? I was like in the car by myself and I'm looking around and I'm like, is there someone in here?
Is there a goose in my car?
I was so like, what? I don't even know, like the way that it happened or something, it was so like guttural that I just like it scared me. Like my nose literally vibrated and I legitimately got scared. I was like, is there something wrong?
Yeah. You told me that story and I told you the one about like my tear duct when I had that like lesion or whatever growing next to it. So what had happened was they removed it, they put a stent in like up here and they looped it up and around and through my sinuses. Well, eventually as things healed, like there was, I think it was like a piece of cauterized plastic just chilling in my nose and I thought it was a boogie. So I was trying to get it out with a piece of tissue, and all of a sudden, I felt the plastic thing, and I like pulled on it, and my eye closed.
Oh Yeah, I
Because it
forgot
was all
about this.
threaded through in the same thing. And I was like, that's not supposed to happen. So, my mom called called the hospital and they were like, I mean, don't do that. Like, leave it alone. But we'll see if we can get you in to, like, get it out sooner. So I had an appointment, like, the following week to remove it. But, yeah, that was wild. I was scared for my life for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, this isn't supposed to be hanging this low. I've never felt this before. What is this?
I know. When I saw my surgeon next and I told him that my nose was, like, rattling, he was like, oh, yeah, that'll happen sometimes.
That would be good to tell people. Like,
yeah, I was
out.
like so scared.
Okay, back to, well, are we still talking about DEI or did we want to move on to the next?
I mean, honestly, like, there's really not much to say, like, other than
It's a poop sandwich.
I mean, it affects us
Oh.
in so many different ways, and like just the way that we described with OSHA is just a small fraction of what could happen.
Like, there are much more shenanigans.
Yeah. Yep. One of my biggest concerns is seeing FMLA go away.
Oh, God.
Because that's DEI.
They don't have to hold your job for you then. Like, you got a surgery that you need or, like, a sick parent or relative that you want to take care of. Well, that sucks.
Yep. So that is one thing that I'm concerned about. I mean, nothing has happened with FMLA as of right now. But again, that's
the
one of
fact
those
that
things
it could, though, is really scary.
Yeah. That is one of those things that we'll just have to keep you updated on, I guess.
And also, I believe covered in DEI was, like, your employer can get into your medical records now, kind of thing. Not now, but, like, there is something in there that if they completely just do away with it, your employer can ask your primary care physician or, like, the hospital that you go to, clinic that you go to, whatever, if you have pre-existing conditions, and they can literally use that as a reason to not hire you.
Oh, I did see something about that. I think as of right now, that is not something that can be done, but I think it's one of the things that they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did actually read about that.
Scary, dude.
It is scary. It is scary. And I wonder too, like, I wonder if that would affect, like, placement as far as residents go. Like, I'm sure that it would give facilities more of a reason to turn somebody down.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that that's always a bad thing, but that's one of those where, like, sometimes it's a situation where somebody literally has nowhere else to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if that could be a factor as well. But I guess that's one of those things that we'll have to wait and see.
Like, the thing that bothers me the most is we're going so far back in time with this. Like, he's undoing, like, decades and decades and decades worth of progress that we have made in so many different areas. But, like, this one especially, like, they can make state institutions for, like, you know, the really, really crazy people that are, like, dangerous to society, homeless. I don't know about you, but I don't want anybody that's a danger to themselves or society chasing me down the street with, like, a knife or something.
Yeah.
You know? It's scary to think about that. Because in those institutions, like, no, not all of them are great, but a lot of them do provide really good care. And, like, these people are getting the meds that they need. They are in a locked facility where they can't hurt themselves or others. Like, people have to be trained in order to deal with these people. Like, I had to do it because I worked in a mental facility.
The crazy part about DEI is, like, it's all of these things that you've just gotten used to that have become standards. Now that they're being looked into are considered, like, snowflake and like, oh, it's just because of the Democrats. It's like, no, there's so many things that you don't even realize are just a part of our everyday lives that, I mean, they had to be put there by somebody.
Right.
There had to be a policy in place in a situation that had, occurred. Somebody had gotten hurt, and that's why that policy is there. Like wheelchair ramps is a classic example.
Or like the no tax on tips and overtime or whatever. Guess what? If OSHA goes away, your working standards for hours go away, and there isn't any overtime to tax because it's all considered regular pay.
Exactly.
Same with tips.
And that's it's like no matter where you stand on Trump, these are things that affect all of us. Everybody.
Minus the top, 5-10%.
Well, the billionaires, exactly.
Yeah.
That's stuff that I don't know. It feels like we're so far removed from them. It's like they're on a different planet.
And not to rant, but what genuinely makes you think that a person who was born with a gold spoon in their mouth and a gold toilet to poop in gives a rat's ass about us as the normal working class citizens of America? The United States, excuse me. Why are people so baffled by him? He literally conned all of them into thinking that he cares about us. He doesn't care about us. He cares about money and making him and his rich friends richer. They really want to drive the wedge in between the upper and lower class, because let's face it, there really isn't a middle class anymore.
Well, right. And that's just it, is that it's working. That's exactly what they wanted. This whole election, the divide was so intense, and that's exactly what they wanted.
Right, because as the citizens, if we're divided, not everyone's seeing the bigger picture, and no one's gonna try and fight back. That's genuinely what they wanted.
Exactly. Okay. So that was DEI. No rattle.
Okay, what else were we talking about? Oh, the DEI, the internment camps. So I'm going to take the wheel on this one because I know quite a bit about it. As far as what laws are being put in and taken out, I can't speak on that because I haven't done my research that far. But basically, the day that Trump got in office, maybe even prior to, they had already started getting land ready for these internment camps. So for your undocumented immigrants and all of that stuff. Also, I have to really catch myself because I was brainwashed for so long into saying illegals or illegal aliens. And that's, no person is illegal.
Correct.
No person is illegal, okay? They can do things that are illegal, but they themselves are not illegal.
No. Just like I was brainwashed for a long time into saying alien. And the only thing that's alien is the things in outer space. We're all human beings. We're all one race. That's another thing too, is I was brainwashed into a long time for saying when you think race and ethnicity, oh, okay, your race is black, oh, your race is white. No, we're all the same. We're all the same. The only race that we have is the human race. Everything else is cultural and ethnicity.
Yep. Okay, so with the internment camps, they had already gotten a bunch of land together and started the expansion of ICE facilities as well. But it doesn't just cover immigrants. It's not just for immigrants. And may I say,
I have to take something away from my dog real quick. You keep going.
Okay. So back to the point of the internment camps and everything, and obviously that's not what they're called. They're called detention centers. But they're not just for migrants. They are also for they're trying to make it where people in the LGBTQ community can also be put in those camps if they're found out. Like, it's literally, they're trying to make it 1930s Germany.
Correct.
That's essentially what they are trying, well, not essentially, that is what they're trying to do. And I don't care if you call me a fearmonger or whatever, like, that's what they said in 1930s Germany about the mustache man, too. Oh, you're just fear-mongering. Things like that are never going to happen. It's not going to happen to me. They had literal Jewish people turning in other Jewish people, which is wild to me, too. But, anyways, so people of the LGBTQ community and also the people that we take care of, because as we just talked about, if they shut down state facilities and decide that these people are no longer wards of the state and they just end up homeless because they take away all the funding, that's essentially where they are going to go. And I don't know about you, but I don't like that. I'm not for that. I'm for people living where they need to live and having the things that they need to have to survive and have like a good quality of life.
Same.
Yeah. Because, you know, I'm not a dick. And I actually care about my fellow human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the other point we were going to touch on was Biden's prescription savings plan.
Yeah.
Do you remember any other point that we were wanting to touch on?
The firing of federal employees.
Yeah, okay, so very quickly, the prescription
is so
savings
itchy.
plan. So if you don't know, so Medicaid, during Biden's administration, if you were Medicaid eligible, which means if you were 65 and older or you fell into a certain like poverty level, demographic, and then also if you had like a qualifying diagnosis or disability or whatever, you could be on Medicaid. And so with the prescription savings plan with Biden's administration, he made a 20% like price cut for all medications on, well, I should say eligible medications, not all, eligible medications with Medicaid. So now that has been cut. So now senior citizens on Medicaid are now paying full price for their prescriptions once again, which affects us because of the medications that the people that we take care of take. And
what their insurance is willing to cover.
Correct. So everybody that we have either is on Medicaid or Medicare, that is,
or both.
Yeah, or both. If they have a disability and they're also over the age of 65.
Yeah.
So basically, in order to live in one of these facilities that we work in, you have to qualify financially, which means you have to be in a certain like poverty level. You have to have you have to be on Medicare and Medicaid, and then you have to have a disability that is like recognized by the ADA. So that's what you have to do in order to live in one of these facilities. And so a lot of these people do end up having Medicaid. Now, granted, with the population that we take care of, it's definitely less because a lot of them are adults with disabilities, and so not as many of them are senior citizens. However, the majority of assisted livings, memory care units, CBRFs, nursing homes, like rehab units for hospitals, those are primarily all taken up by people who are on Medicaid because they're senior citizens.
Yep.
So we don't see it as much as they will, and I'm sure that a lot of those staff are already seeing the difference in the medications.
Oh, I'm sure, because there's only so many things that they can make generic.
Correct. So I am sure that there's a lot of senior citizens out there that are struggling right now that are on Medicaid that have to pay full price for their medications.
Especially like insulin pens.
Yeah.
Those are really expensive.
And that is another thing, actually, that I am a little bit concerned about. So we talked about this in the past where my husband is diabetic. And under the Biden administration, he made all insulin, all brands, like whatever kind of form, whether it's in the vial or the pen or whatever, all insulin is $50. Like, that's it. It's a flat $50.
Mm-hmm.
And now I am assuming at some point that will change. Another thing that the Biden administration did was they made a whole bunch of generic controlled substances $13.50, like just all across the board. Pretty much, there's got to be a couple of them that weren't changed, but pretty much all generic controlled substances were made $13.50 if you have insurance.
Correct.
Now, I'm assuming that at some point that will change. It hasn't yet, but we're still only...
We're living in a time of many shenanigans.
A month in, almost 2 months in. So
and look at how much has been unraveled already.
We have a lot to go. Yeah, so I would say if you take care of somebody or if you are a listener who are, being affected by this yourself, do your research and figure out what medications you can be on that are cost effective that do the same thing as the ones that you were trying to get, because I can guarantee the prices are only going to go up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is the prescription savings plan, and how that affects people in our little corner of the world.
Mm-hmm. Now for some lightheartedness, because I think it is hilarious that all of these federal employees Elon just decided, nah, bye. Didn't even check what their actual job was. And now they're like scrambling to try and rehire, like, I don't know, the guy with the nuke codes.
That's my favorite part in all of this, is that they didn't realize that these people were in charge of the entire U.S. arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm. What was that? If we burn, you burn with us. Like, can't make it up. This is gonna be in history books.
It will be.
And it's gonna be embarrassing. I am ashamed to be alive right now.
Yeah. Same.
Like, obviously we're doing our part. We're talking about it, but like, what is this? What timeline are we in right now? Because I want off.
Okay, so we talk a lot about how, like, we genuinely think that we switch timelines.
Or that we're living in a simulation.
And again, I'm just saying, I really think that we switch timelines. Like, I think something happened at the train station and we got off on the wrong one.
I want to go back to the good one.
Yeah, because like
this feels like purgatory.
Because I don't know, man. It's weird. Stuff's weird.
Also, for those of us that don't know what purgatory is, because they weren't raised Catholic, purgatory is like limbo. Where
we should do an episode on being raised Catholic.
For sure. Hold on. So, it's limbo between heaven and hell, and that's where everybody just waits.
Correct.
You wait.
Correct.
This is my purgatory.
Yeah.
Yeah, but an episode on being raised Catholic? Sure.
Yeah, so we're both ex-Catholic people.
Mm-hmm.
And,
pretty sure we've talked about it minimally, but never gone into, like, detail.
Yeah. We're both, raised in the church, and funny enough, we're both not in the church now, so isn't that interesting? Yeah, so I guess my biggest take on, obviously, all of the people being fired affects us all, because especially, like, the agricultural side of things, I mean, food prices are going to skyrocket. They already have been, and they're only going to skyrocket more the more that all of these federal workers are being fired, especially like the people that work for the FDA and the ones that are field testers and
also
make sure our food is safe.
Fairly positive that they got rid of the CDC now. Like, it's not a thing anymore. It's disbanded.
I know we talked about that. I'm pretty sure that's not true yet, but I think it's something that they wanted to do. So I guess, like I said, we're all affected by the grocery prices being up, but one thing that, like, being in our field, it's really gonna be hard to do feeding all these people, is because, like, when you're shopping for these facilities, that's a lot of people to feed.
Anywhere from 4 to 8 residents.
Yeah, that's a lot of people to feed, and especially if, like, because, you know, most companies, like ours, they have a set budget for the year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they can't just keep redoing the budgets all of the time. They do them for the year. And then that's it. So it's like, are we going to get screwed? Is it going to be one of the situations where, like, we're just going to run out of food money halfway through the year? Like, what's going to happen?
Let me really put this in perspective for some of you. I currently work at a home with 6 residents. 6 gallons of milk hardly lasts us a week. 1 week. 6 gallons of milk.
That's a gallon a day. Yeah. Sorry, we're both just ogling at how dumb my dog is.
Is that a Valentine?
Yeah, with another eraser because I took his away.
It's an avocado eraser?
Mm-hmm.
Free shabakadoo.
I can't, I totally can, but he literally went and snuffed one out, so.
Well, I see another one right there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he pulled that one out from, like, in between the table and the couch right there.
Yep, he did.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so I'm like, I know that, like, I'll be able to, like, skirt by, and when things get tough, it's like, okay, I can figure it out. I can go to this grocery store, and I can go to this grocery store, and I can figure this out. But, like,
coupons.
When it comes to the shopping for the members, like, that's a totally different beast. Because it's like you kind of can't, like,
you have to buy things that you know that they're gonna eat, because obviously, like,
and
if you're making meals that nobody likes, it's kind of a problem, because then nobody's gonna eat, and they need to be they need to have a good nutritional balance. It's part of these state regs. So we have to make sure that we're including the correct food groups with each meal, making sure that you have enough for leftovers, because a lot of these people have either, like, a day service program or like work that they go to, and we have to pack their lunch. So if they're not taking leftovers, then they get a sandwich or whatever, and then again you still need to make sure that you're including the correct food groups.
Yeah.
With every single meal.
Right, exactly. Like, you can't just not feed the residents.
Correct.
That's not a thing. If you're gonna just not feed yourself, like, you can't just, like, not feed the residents.
Right.
You can't do that. So yeah, I think that is my biggest concern right now with firing all the federal workers. Good Lord, all those F words in one go.
English is hard.
It is hard. That I think is my biggest thing, because all of it affects us, but I think that's one of the things that we will feel a direct hit from.
Oh, definitely.
And again, it's going to affect everybody, like I said, but I mean, just again, putting it into perspective, and not even just places that we work, but, like,
this is not just companies,
like prisons, institutions, anywhere with residents that are there for more than half the year. Like, you can't just not feed them. And
correct.
That's like feeding a little army every week. And some of them, you know, due to certain medications or things, some of them need to eat more than 1 or 2 portions.
Correct. And others can't have certain things because the medication could be ineffective, like grapefruit juice is one. That's a big one. And I mean, like, that's kind of a crappy example, honestly, but that's one that you see a lot in psych meds is that grapefruit juice you can't have. So you really have to watch, like, your sodas and your juices that you're buying, because if it has any trace of that in it, they can't have it.
Yeah, so that's fun. Okay, so I did Google it with the CDC. So no, it's still the same. They're still operating. The only thing is that
Isn't there like a freeze on it though?
No,
like they're not reporting on certain things.
So they paused their communications and they shut down all of their data websites. So everything that has any sort of data on it, as far as like studies for like outbreaks and things like that.
Okay, so
you
again,
can't find.
They're open, but they're not functional.
Correct.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, so they're open, they're operating, but they're not releasing any data right now. Probably.
Playing Frogger? Oh, damn, that showed my age. I hate it here. Playing Frogger.
But yeah, so, and actually another one that I just thought of too is that federal workers, the ones that determine medications and things like pharmaceuticals, that's another thing that we're going to see an uptake in, is the fact that it's probably going to get even harder now to get certain medications.
Yeah.
And there's already a controlled substance shortage. Another mouthful. Like, for example, my son is on a controlled substance. It's hard to find. Many of our members are on controlled substances for ADHD, schizophrenia, bipolar, seizures,
hallucinations.
Yep. Pain,
anxiety and depression.
Hospice, anxiety, depression. Many. And if they don't have people out in the field regulating, like operating now in those pharmaceutical companies, that's gonna put a damper on things.
Yep. Sorry. It's just funny when it's not me. I don't really think I have anything else to add on this topic.
No, I mean, you know, honestly, all of the things that we talked about, we could talk about for days. But I mean, like, again, at some point, you're going to be beating a dead horse. We all know that it's going to mess everything up. And I guess the biggest thing that we can do is just keep talking about it.
Yep. And I guess, like, I'm not shaming anybody for their vote, because what's done is done, but I hope that you do better in the future. Like, I really hope that you are an educated voter, that you really actually look at the plans that the person has, because concepts of a plan.
You know, I'm torn on this, because I do feel for the people that fell for, the con, and the ones that really did just want
better,
and the ones that really thought, okay, you know, this is gonna affect our grocery prices and whatever. Like, I just wanted lower groceries, and now, like, look what's happening. Like, I do feel for the ones that
genuinely got duped.
Yeah. But the ones that just basically wanted to put an end to the snowflakes, I don't feel for them at all, because no matter how you look at it, this is something that affects us all. And it's just sad that people think, like, oh, it's this and that was the the fault of this person. Like, you can blame all you want, but at the end of the day, this is something that's it's gonna happen to all of us.
Right. And like, there's not gonna be any like Democratic Party people to blame for anything because everything is Republican right now.
Well, not
They
only
have the
that,
majority of everything.
nobody's perfect. Like,
Correct.
I mean, things weren't perfect when the Democrats were in charge either. I mean, we were still in one of the biggest recessions we've ever been.
Right. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think it all needs to be torn down and rebuilt.
Absolutely.
We are in, it was never meant to be just a two-party
System.
system. No. It was meant for us, the people. They are supposed to be working for us.
Correct.
And since before I was born, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been that way in a really, really long time.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I guess most of my views are a little bit more left-leaning, but
Same.
I'm really not a true Democrat. Like,
Same.
I don't consider myself a part of any party, and I never have, because there's no party that I believe closely, like that really closely aligns with the best interests of the American people.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, until I see somebody, like just a regular old Joe off the street that gets elected into politics and can actually, like, speak for us and know exactly what it's like to be a normal person living on 123 Smith Street, like, I will not ever feel confident in any of the choices that we're given. And even the politicians that did have humble beginnings or whatever, it's like they've been doing this for so long, they're so far removed from what it feels like to live, you know, just in like a normal everyday life. Mm-hmm. It's the same as being a celebrity. Sure, you might have come from this life, but
eventually you get accustomed to
right.
the new life that you have.
It's not like you remember it, you know, like they've been...
It takes like a really humble person to remember where they came from.
Exactly. Like, they've been doing what they've been doing for so long that it's really hard for me to have any sort of respect for somebody that says that they want what's best for me, when it's like, no, you don't. You want what's best for your pockets.
Exactly. And that's like the other big problem, is that everything revolves around money.
Exactly. And that's Republicans and Democrats alike. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's all about the grain.
Honestly, at this point, it's people. People have gotten greedy and lost empathy for each other. And I think that's why we're in the state that we're in now. And the fact that we've been, like, consistently... the government has been trying to, like, dumb us down further and further and further over the years. But if people actually, you know, gave a crap about one another instead of just, this is me and my family and this is what we're dealing with, well, there's always someone that has it worse. Like, sorry, not sorry, it's true. Mm-hmm. Like, there could be a homeless person in Florida and a homeless person in, I don't know, Michigan. Michigan's cold in the winter. Florida is not. So in the winter, technically, the person in Michigan has it worse because they're homeless in somewhere with a really nasty winter.
Mm-hmm. And just like in the summer, it's nice in Michigan, but in Florida, they have flooding, hurricanes, mm-hmm. extremely, extremely bad heat, mm-hmm. dangerous droughts. Well, not so much in Florida, but dangerous humidity levels for sure. I mean, it all just depends on which way you look at it.
Like, at
what
the
side
end
of the grass you're on.
I think that if people all started realizing that no matter what happens at the end of the day, we all need air to breathe, we all need water to survive, and we all bleed red.
Correct.
Ain't nobody bleeding the color of their skin, okay? Like...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't made for America, I don't think. I'm too empathetic. Like, I care too much about other people, you know?
Sometimes I feel like I wasn't even made for Earth.
Same. I'm an alien, okay? I belong on Mars.
Yeah, until we get there and corrupt that too.
Yeah. Everything humans touch, it's not good.
All right. Well, this was definitely a much more sad episode.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll have a more upbeat one coming your way.
So before we end this, we're going to take one last cleansing breath. I feel better. And we're just going to like push all that negativity that we just talked about away, because we don't need that negativity in our lives. I sound like a yoga instructor.
You really do. No, we don't.
Any hoozles, do you want to do the socials today?
Sure. You can find us pretty much anywhere. Facebook, TikTok, I think are the biggest ones. At Boss Ravioli Queens. You can email us at bossravioliqueens@gmail.com.
Yes.
Don't forget to hit that
Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell.
There you go. That one. Like and subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Because then you'll see all of our new episodes. You'll get notified every single time we posted anything new on YouTube.
Correct. Stay tuned, as I do think we might be changing some of our handles on things, but we're not entirely sure. We need to figure it out.
Facebook is going to stay the same. I can just remove the admin powers from someone.
Yep.
And I think we're going to have to make a new TikTok, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we can always save all of our old videos and repost on the new one.
Yep. And I do believe we're going to get a new email at some point. You never know.
Honestly, at this point, I think we should just follow through. And, like, this weekend, maybe just create a new one.
Yeah, I agree.
With that Band-Aid off.
I agree. I think that's not... Yeah, okay. Anyway. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
I used the wrong hand. Where's my button? Oh, there it is. It blends in well. Bye.